Of all the many causes you perceived as bringing pain and suffering to you, your guilt was not among them. A Course in Miracles is a psycho-spiritual book that leads us to inner peace by healing our guilty self-concept. That we all have a guilty self-concept is a central premise of the Course. But where could such pervasive guilt come from? I have spoken of different symptoms, and at that level there is almost endless variation. There is, however, only one cause for all of them, the authority problem. According to the Course's metaphysics, our guilt comes from our imagined relationship to God. This relationship is symbolically expressed in the biblical story of Adam and Eve's expulsion from the Garden of Eden for defying God by eating fruit from the tree of knowledge. Adam and Eve wanted to share in God's supreme knowledge, effectively challenging his place on the throne. Furious at this act of betrayal, God cast the couple out of paradise and condemned the whole of humanity to a life of suffering and decay. Though this God of retribution lives in our imagination, the true God, according to the Course, is a oneness made as one that only extends love, and we are a part of his oneness. To get in touch with this reality and our holy self, the Course corrects our perceptions of shame and guilt, and this is one definition of a miracle. A miracle is a correction introduced into false thinking. It acts as a catalyst, breaking up erroneous perception and reorganizing it properly. To correct our identification with guilt, we first need to be able to recognize it. To do that, it's helpful to look closer at the Course's use of the word guilt. The Course uses guilt as an umbrella term to include things that we normally associate with guilt, but also with shame. Distinguishing between shame and guilt is helpful because identifying with one more than the other influences every facet of our lives, including our goals, the way we make decisions, and our most pressing emotional needs. It also influences how we relate to authority figures and to our own sense of authority. You mightn't think you identify with shame and guilt, but you know that you do if you fear rejection, abandonment, or punishment. All who believe in separation have a basic fear of retaliation and abandonment. Basically, shame relates to feelings of inferiority and a fear of abandonment, while guilt relates to a feeling of badness and a fear of retribution. Shame gives rise to a need to impress, guilt to a need to please. The work of psychoanalyst Karen Horney helps us further identify shame and guilt using her descriptions of 3 types of defences to feeling lost and alone in a hostile world. These types are the self-effacing or compliant type, the mastery or aggressive type, and the detached type. Proneness to either shame or guilt tends to reflect traditional stereotypical concepts of masculinity and femininity. But, as Horney wrote, self-effacement has nothing to do with femininity, nor aggressive arrogance with masculinity. Both are exquisitely neurotic phenomena. A major problem from adopting one of these types is that we don't embody our authentic, whole personality. We toss aside what doesn't fit with the defensive type we've chosen, yet our lives may seem a picture of propriety and normality. As the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote, the biggest danger, that of losing oneself, can pass off in the world as quietly as if it were nothing. Every other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is bound to be noticed. Once we recognise we have identified with shame and guilt, we can ask for correction. This is another major theme of the Course, that we have an inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, a part of our mind that is in touch with oneness, a bridge between worlds that can correct our perceptions from the vantage point above the battleground. Correction is not your function. It belongs to one who knows of fairness, not of guilt. And as our identification with shame and guilt lessens, we embody more of our innate personality and spiritual self. The two go hand in hand. A detailed discussion of Horne's types, along with the Course's process of forgiveness, can be found in Above the Battleground, The Courageous Path to Emotional Autonomy and Inner Peace by Stephanie Panay. You can read a preview of this book by clicking the Amazon link below in the description section.